The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another Soccer to the Max. I'm your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me, Mr. Erik Watkins, as always.
I am a sober victim of a potential deep state conspiracy.
Oh, goodness.
What? Oh goodness me. You know exactly what you did before we got on here.
Well, we will get into that at what Erik is hinting at, but it may not be what you think. So, of course, we do know that both the U.S. teams won their games today. So we'll be talking about those. Of course, the U.S. men have a huge game on Sunday against Mexico. The U.S. women have another friendly against Norway in Norway as well on Sunday. And I still have a horse in the race for the under-20s as Venezuela, through penalties, gets through to the final to face England at 6 a.m. on Sunday. That should be very fun and nauseating for me, especially if we get exactly what happened in the semifinal game. England's been doing really well for themselves, so this should be really, really interesting to see who prevails. But I'll get into that too, and we also have a little bit of transfer news. Somebody big in the international world might be headed to MLS, and another one that many thought was almost a done deal decided to go back to his old club. So we'll talk about that and some MLS expansion news as we have an update to what we talked about in the previous show concerning MLS Miami, and another one concerning San Diego and what they want to do, and they might have hit a little bit of a snag. So we'll have to see what's going on. Of course, it's a short week for MLS. They only have 3 games on Saturday, but we'll get your predictions for those. But, Erik, the big thing I think that's on everybody's minds here, and I'll be honest, I'm sorry we're not trying to play favorites, but Rachel's not with us. The U.S. Women's National Team game came on during a time we were both at work. So I didn't get to watch any of the game, neither did Erik. From what Rachel was telling us, because she was live tweeting the game, she was watching it. The women had a bad first half, lots of giveaways. If it wasn't for the defense, Sweden probably would have scored. They came out the second half, played much better. Rose Lavelle got the goal, and that was enough for the U.S. women to win 1-0 over Sweden. I don't have a lot more info aside from that, but don't know if you wanted to comment.
So it's basically similar to what happened down in Rio, except we won.
Yes.
From reading all of that,
and you didn't have the drama with Hope Solo and all that.
True. The times where time zones are good for you, and there are times when time zones work against you.
Yeah, this was one of those times that didn't work for us particularly, but it worked for the women's national team, and that's kind of all that matters at this point. Good that they got the win.
And a measure of revenge.
Yes, a measure of revenge a little bit there. Obviously, lesser stakes. So that sort of doesn't, that sort of hurts how much value you put into this, but still a win's a win. And some of the ones that you think should have done better didn't, like a Mallory Pugh. And some of the one, the defense like Becky Sauerbrunn, who's been fantastic, continues to be for the women's national team. But we both will be around to talk for the Norway game. We'll both be able to watch that game. So it depends on me. I think I'll make sure that I get up before then. I might have to hit the snooze button after the Venezuela game or something, because I plan on staying up for that. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Definitely we'll be able to get you some thoughts on that. Don't know if Rachel's even going to be able to be on for that either. Hopefully she is. But if not, Erik and I will definitely get you a breakdown for that game. But obviously the more important game, considering what's been going on with this team for a long while now, having to bring Bruce Arena in to cover for the mistakes made under Jurgen Klinsmann. Bruce Arena still has not been scored on during open play during his tenure. It's 2 corners, if I'm not mistaken. I know that's a positive for the U.S. 2 goals, 2-0. 2 goals coming from Christian Pulisic, who now has 3 goals in 2 games. Both of them coming in the second half. Both of them coming off of very nice plays in the final third by the U.S. Clint Dempsey with a wonderful little chip over to, I think it was Nagbe. Nagbe gets his pass in, deflected off. Yedlin puts it right back in. It could have been Dempsey's. Would he have tied Donovan, or would he have gone over Donovan?
I think he would have tied him.
Yeah, either way, it would have been history for Dempsey. But Christian Pulisic steps right in front of Dempsey and slides in to get the goal past John Michael Williams, who had a fantastic game. Let me tell you, this guy stopped quite a few shots. I think he had about seven saves in total.
At least, especially when I was able to tune in, he had a good double save on one of our shots, and I'm like, my God.
Yeah, he kept that team in it. And that's not to say that the Trinidad and Tobago didn't have some chances, because they did. Cameron Jones had one that hit the crossbar that probably he's ruining right now, because that could have changed the game there early in the first half. But that was on John Brooks, and it'll be interesting to see if he plays against Mexico, because he's got that niggling injury there with the hamstring.
Yeah, and I noticed a lot of weaknesses on that side of our defense, and I'm like, we kind of need to fix that.
Yeah, it was very open. Not a lot of shutting down on the defensive side. So, it's one of these things where I guess she had to give up a little bit to get the offensive transition movement that you got from the U.S. in this game. Nagbe, I thought, was really good. Fabian Johnson looked more comfortable, but he still wasn't too impactful in this game. It was a lot more about Nagbe. A lot more about Josie Altidore. He was moving a lot and creating. When he'd make runs, he was creating space for some of the other guys. Yedlin was very vital on both the goals, making the passes that were important. Of course, Josie's pass for the second goal was,
pinpoint.
Yeah, exactly. It was just perfect for that second goal from Pulisic. And what can you say about Pulisic, man? That guy is tremendous.
I had this thought in my head, and Sean, you'd understand this. I really wish that maybe we could have found some way to also have him on our U20s, but at that point, that would have just been jobbing him out.
Right. I think he might still play for the under-17s when they go to India. I'm not sure.
I don't know how he can, because he's 18.
Oh, he's 18 now. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. That's why I say, it would have been great having that kind of firepower for the U20s, but, leave him on the senior team. He's now scored or assisted in 7 of the last 8 goals for the Stars and Stripes. That just in of itself was nuts.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing what Pulisic has been able to do. I know Rachel was making comments about Landon Hu. I think it's a little bit too early to say that, but definitely this dude is the talk of the town right now as far as the star of the national team. goes. And that's pretty much, I think I kind of covered Rachel's thoughts. She thought that switching Nabby and Johnson was a great idea. They were much faster. They had better transition play. And Krista Palucci was great in this game. So I still think that Bradley's too alone back there by himself, sort of having to play prevent defense, and I don't think you really want that from Bradley.
Well, in this case against TNT, who was really willing to play open, that's what you kind of needed. However, going up against El Tri, yeah, it's going to be not necessarily more compact at the back and towards the mids, but you're going to have more bodies there, as you say, to avoid the prevent defense. So this was kind of like a one-off from the way I see it.
Yeah, it's we'll see. They played like that against Venezuela. It didn't work. You kind of had the similar thing where Venezuela was getting a lot of possession, and they were sort of doing the whole soak up pressure, go on the counterattack. And I understand that they wanted to catch TNT off balance. They can sort of do that because they know TNT's defense isn't as good. But also that left you vulnerable on the defensive side on your end too. And when we saw that have some cracks. And so for me, I just worry about it because you're not going to play this way against Mexico.
No.
And as we saw, from Honduras in their game here, Mexico absolutely blew them out, and Honduras almost, I think, were playing that let's soak up pressure and go on the counter thing, but they could never go on the counter because Mexico would just not let them have the ball at all. And even when Honduras had the ball, they couldn't do anything with it. They didn't have they have a great front three, but they just don't have anything to tie them in the middle, I feel like, which the U.S. does, but still.
Well, but the thing is, we play this kind. Look at what Mexico, or rather TNT and Venezuela have in common that Mexico does not. TNT, they had great chances, but their finishing wasn't always clinical. Venezuela, great chances, but their finishing wasn't always clinical.
They did score a goal.
They did.
So,
yeah. I do give them credit for that, but they could have had more. TNT, had they had better clinical finishing, we're talking about at least a 2-2 match, maybe worse.
And Mexico's first goal in the Honduras game was off a corner. So.
Exactly. Positioning, perfect position with the header, right time, right jump, boom, clinical finishing. And then as they had just an open breakaway on, I believe it was either their second or their third goal.
The third one was ridiculous. He just chips it over the keeper.
Exactly. Oh. This is the kind of finishing that they provide. And if you're going to soak up pressure counterattack, if you're going up against a team that can finish that well, you're screwed. That's why we're definitely changing formation, because we're going up against a team that has a lot more ways of putting the ball in the back of the onion bag.
Yep, exactly. You got to be very careful about that. You got to be perfect on defense and be able to take those opportunities that you get, whether they're on set pieces or on the counter or when you got in possession. You got to be able to, connect and threaten them. Because also, if you don't ever threaten them, Mexico just pick you apart.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be able to play that balance, and that's going to be interesting for the U.S. Look, they got 3 points here. They control their destiny now. Let me check and see if I can find the... because last I checked...
We're sitting in third, behind Costa Rica, and we're at a... I know goal difference had a lot to do with it. I think we're still at a bit of a disadvantage.
Oh, Costa Rica and Panama wind up drawing 0-0.
Okay.
So, yeah, Costa Rica has 8 now. We could have been tied at 7 had Panama won.
Yeah, had Panama won, then we would have been able to potentially jump them with goal difference. But right now, because of that draw, we sit third. But that's still...
I mean, it's still getting in. Right.
Yes. And at the halfway point of the Hex, because this is match day 5, I can live with this.
Exactly. You can... Yeah, so the next settings is Mexico, United States, Panama in Panama against Honduras, and Costa Rica against TNT.
Ooh.
So, you know that the U.S. need to get that. I mean, in September, the U.S. plays Costa Rica, so they have their own. Where they wind up will probably, that's why the U.S. really has to make sure they at least get a point out of Mexico. Taking a loss, if Costa Rica gets a win, they distance themselves even more.
Yeah, I was about to say, we need some sort of result in Azteca. Ooh.
I mean, you're already in that third spot, obviously, but you want to try this all. Where you finish can also help you in the when they do the draw and everything. So
yeah, and that's why I say going with match day 6, we're in third. We need to stay there because at 4 matches, if we're 4 matches to go, if we're sitting in third place, then we can march forward. We may not be able to catch El Tri. I really don't think so, because after the win tonight, they're on 13 points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to safely say that's a foregone conclusion. But
yeah, even if the U.S. won, it'd only get to 10 points, and even then, Mexico plays... I mean, Panama always plays them tough, but they play at home against Panama. Then it isn't until they go to Costa Rica on the second set of games in September where it's possible that Mexico could lose points again. But even then, you're having to win out pretty much.
Exactly. So that's why I say we can just get a draw. I won't even call an upset win. Get a draw, stay third, 4 matches to go, then we can chase second.
Definitely want to at least be getting in second.
Yeah, and again, with the way that the draw goes, being CONCACAF 2, that's not bad. Not bad. Especially because that would also help us in the FIFA World Rankings, and that's also a part when it comes to the draw, etc., etc.
All right, well, I think we've gotten through that here. Unfortunately, even though the U.S. lost, for me anyway, I still have Venezuela in with my family. Ironically, one of my uncles he was born in England and has an English passport, so he's probably a little bit confounded on who to go for, but definitely I think all eyes here, especially being in Miami where we have a big Venezuelan contingent. It's going to be very fun. I don't know how many people are going to be watching live, but it's going to be very fun to watch this game and see if Venezuela can finally win a tournament.
Okay. You're talking South Florida, right?
Right.
You're talking 6 a.m. on a Sunday, right?
Yes.
Okay. You know this even better than I do. Do you not think that there are people that would go on a bender and use their last 2 to 3 hours of stamina or create stamina through whatever substances they can consume? I have no judgment. You really don't think that there's a contingent of people that would do that so they can keep the party going until about 8 or 9 a.m.?
No,
especially if Venezuela wins?
Oh, yeah, more. You're going to be drinking some more after that.
Well, not just drinking, but again, consuming whatever substances that can give you energy. I will leave it at that.
Yeah, definitely. I
Just
mean,
keep an eye on your
it might
keys.
even be at 7 because they could have an hour pregame. I don't know how this thing lists 6 o'clock, so I'm not too sure of if they actually start at 6 or not.
Yeah, well, like I say, just keep an eye on your keys. Someone may want to borrow them. Don't let them.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Italy is going to play Uruguay in the third place game at 3 o'clock. So.
Yeah, well, my final. This is why. Yeah. I can't
both of
do
our
predictions
finals got.
anymore.
Yeah, both of our finals got totally blown up. That's surprised England beat Italy 3-1 like that. So looks like Venezuela might have a tall task ahead of them. It's been a difficult road for them. You know, ever since this whole tournament, they haven't just, other than Vanuatu, they haven't really just blown people away. They're fast, but they're not, obliterating teams.
Right.
England, for the most part, really hadn't either. It wasn't until I think they hit their stride here. So, but yeah. Go ahead.
And the actual kickoff is 6 a.m. So any pregame festivities, that'll be about 5. So, again.
They might just have one of those like 5 or 10 minute pregames and they just get started.
Exactly. So, hey, 1 hour less of partying. One time where you have to use the key less. Even more reason.
Let's just hope that Venezuela can get it done in regulation this time. Don't make us sit through extra time and all that too. We can go to bed at like about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
I don't know. It's England. England. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Yangel Herrera, who plays for NYCFC, has played every minute for Venezuela so far. He's, the captain. He's going to be looking to do that again and bring one home for La Vino Tinto. See what happens. Speaking of MLS, you heard Rachel's rant on the Gold Cup, and if you're listening to this, it's already the next day, so you can probably already read Rachel's rant in written form on WTMnet.com as well, of her feeling that there's too much MLS on the U.S. squad. 32 out of 40 were MLS, but there's 82 MLS players representing on Gold Cup teams. Out of the 82, all 22 clubs are represented from 9 different countries. 17 MLS players were named for the Canada squad. Of course, these are not the final squads, obviously. So, they still got to whittle them down to 23, so we'll see what happens there. Costa Rica, Jamaica both have 10. Mexico named 1 player, Cubo Torres, and do not have Giovanni Dos Santos because he's going to be playing in the Confed Cup. And then Toronto have 7. The Toronto FC have the most MLS players on Gold Cup teams. They have 7. Seattle, Vancouver, and New York City FC have 6. So, interesting.
Yeah,
the breakdown there.
For the other 50 MLS players being named to the squads, I like that.
Well, I mean, you can't say that all the MLS players you're talking about the largest contingent there for the U.S. I mean, you're talking about the Clint Dempseys and Tim Howards and...
No, that's why I say, and we were talking about this, with the U.S., we have a lot of great MLS players. I do not deny that. But especially after what happened tonight and what's going on, how can I phrase this? Our best players don't aspire to stay in MLS. They're in MLS, play in Europe, and then towards the end of their careers, a lot of them come back. That's why if we had a good contingent of MLS players and a few European players, that's ideal. With some of these other countries, Canada, Costa Rica, what have you, a lot of their players, they aspire to start locally, but play in MLS.
Well, Canada, you have to start. The Canadian teams have to have local players. That's a mandate.
Well, yeah, the Canadians, and you have a lot of local teams, and you've got Canada starting up the Canadian Premier League, which I don't want to see fail like other Canadian soccer leagues that have been in the past. I think that would help. But even ideally, it's like, hey, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, rather than poor Ottawa or even worse, FC Edmonton. I mean, come on.
I mean, but okay, so let's go through this because, let's do this just for the sake of doing this. All right, so we can agree that Brad Guzan should not be being called up, but he is. And he's...
You damn straight!
He stupidly will probably wind up on the final roster, even though he shouldn't be. Hopefully it's Howard, Raimondo, and Jesse Gonzalez so he can get cap-tied. And
if Brad Guzan ends up on the roster, people need to start a GoFundMe for some bail money because I'm going to be making a flight and I'm going to be giving a couple of people an open-handed smack in the mouth. You do not do these things.
That's hilarious. So
you can feel free to say you do or don't know me on the news or whatever. Just know in advance this could happen. Just get a decent, I know numbers of lawyers. Call them up. Get bail money. Get me a flight home. The rest takes care of itself.
Fair enough. So, Dax McCarty, I think he would be on there regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Polster, probably not. Tim Howard, obviously automatic. Will Trapp, we'll have to see. He's still a young guy that people have been waiting forever on. Bill Hamid is one of those questions of he could replace Raimondo.
Wouldn't have an issue with that.
And then Steve Birbaum is one of those defenders that he's been tremendous every time you see him for the U.S.
The emphasis on for the U.S.
Well, that's what matters at this point. Not necessarily all the time what you do for your club. Because, if you're going to ask John Brooks, he does great in Germany, and then he comes to play for the U.S., and he's not always solid. So, Cohen Acosta would be on there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Gonzalez, you're hoping he's there, so you can cap time. Matt Hedges would be on there anyway.
Not too many disagreements.
Jesse Zardes, that's one of those, we haven't really seen Arena call him up too much. He has been injured though too, so that's one of those iffy ones. When you get into the Juan Agudelos and Kellen Rose, that's definitely I don't know. Tommy McNamara, I like seeing somebody like him get called up, even though he's probably not a guy you're calling.
Especially with his recent form, I can approve of that.
Sean Johnson, Joe Bednick, obviously they deserve it, but I don't think that they would wind up in the final team, probably.
No, poor Bednick.
Bedoya would be there anyway.
Yes.
Pontius, probably not. Sapong, I think, is a possibility. The way he's been playing with Philadelphia, you can certainly raise that question. And Darlington Nagbe, obviously.
Yeah.
Wando's another one of those that he might get called and he might not. Dempsey, Jordan Morris, for sure.
Yes.
And Christian Roldan, he's obviously one of those benefiting from it being Gold Cup, just like Dom Dwyer, I think.
Right.
And Matt Beasler would definitely be called up for something like this right now. And so Graham Zusi. So...
Yeah.
Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, no doubt. And then Justin Morrow, who probably wouldn't. So we're talking about, those European guys that would normally take those spots. We can clearly see that, three of those goalkeepers wouldn't be getting called up right now, and you'd have to replace them with you would take those 3 guys off. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say 37. You can easily find the other 6 players or so that you could take off and put the guys that that you would normally see on the U.S. team on that Gold Cup squad really easily. So I don't see a problem there. I mean, it's not like I'm too worried. I just think that, okay, with the teams you got in the group, you should be able to do it with the squad you have. And if, all right, depending on who you get, obviously they make it so that U.S. and Mexico always play each other in the final. It could, if they both win their groups or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, considering that happens, depending on who you got in the knockout stages, you say, okay, do I need to bring in those 6 European guys that normally start and replace them or not? But that opportunity is there. I just think that you give them a little bit of rest, it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
And I have said this before, and I will say it again. If this were any other manager other than Bruce Arena, who's popped off at the mouth, gone on record, the kinds of things that he would do in a back alley for MLS for free, where normally you'd have to pay $20 and maybe some other things. Fine. But this is him. The lipstick will get smeared very easily. He'd do the walk of shame and not give it a second thought afterwards. He'd get the tap on the head and then kindly move back. You see where I'm going with this.
I can see where you're going with it, yeah.
So, I don't want success playing into his mentality, and then all of a sudden, when we're set up to have a sure thing, something goes wrong. I will be going into this as saying, okay, I can't leave, especially if I'm around this long, I can't leave either this Gold Cup or 2019 to chance. I need to win both. I need to do whatever I can to win both. And it's set up for him to win this year where it starts. I just don't want any sort of what if coming in for the knockout stage. All of a sudden we blow it. Then we're hinging everything on 19 and a playoff. Because if that happens, I personally think we're screwed. And then Mexico is going to go to Qatar or wherever the hell it's going to be when FIFA finally gets their act together come 2021.
I feel like they've already committed to play that December World Cup.
Again, international flights. I have a passport. Maybe getting in trouble with Interpol would give me some necessary street cred. Yeah, I went to FIFA headquarters with the 2x4. Yeah, I went on a rampage. Yeah, I smacked some
I would
people.
definitely say I don't know you at that point.
And again, I would understand that completely.
Yeah, at least you understand. So that's good.
I mean, but at that point, I could claim some persecution by being Jamaican or Native American or whatever other parts of my blood that would curry me some favors. I have plans for this.
Fair enough. I think you make good points here, obviously, about Arena and everything. I want to have a little bit of faith in the guy.
I don't.
Just right now. And that's fine. You guys don't have to. I don't care as long as we win. I'm not going to sit here and judge him until we lose. And then all right, we made the wrong spot. But what if one of these European guys that you call in are one of the reasons why you lost? Then what are you going to say? I just think we don't need to, already down Arena for a decision when nothing's been played yet. So.
I'm not already downing him yet. I'm just saying he left open the door for me to kick through and down him. He's leading me down the path. I'm just walking.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so we're done with national team talk for now until Sunday where we resurrect that again. Some MLS expansion stuff here before we get into the 3 MLS games that are happening on Saturday. And knowing WSL as they take the next 2 weeks off, they play again on the 17th of June. So, San Diego. All right, let's start in Miami because this is an actual positive one. Miami, we talked about last. I think it was either, I don't know if it was the midweek or I think it was the midweek that we talked about David Beckham United. His investment group needed 3 acres of land that were being brought up to the Miami-Dade City Council for them to vote on if they were going to get the sale. It was voted 9-4 in favor of Beckham United, and now they have the whole 9 acres they need to build that $25,000, or not 25,000, yes, 25,000 seat stadium.
I don't know, it is Overtown, so yeah, 25 grand.
It's Overtown, but it's privately financed by Mr. Beckham. All he has to do now is get MLS approval for the team, which this is the last hurdle. Has been this stadium issue. And once that happens, they have to get zoning laws done and everything else. What's funny about this is, he was rejected twice for a stadium. Once for the Miami beachfront thing. And then the other one, the city of Miami wouldn't enact eminent domain on this one property that this guy owned that was for $500,000. He was being offered $10 million to sell it, and he wouldn't.
What?
So Beckham had to be denied a stadium twice.
Seriously, if I'm that guy, I take my $10 million, go off, retire, but not before I stop and pick up some cookies from Night Owl Cookie Company. Seriously. And I'm going to put that out there. There is someone with a birthday in a couple of weeks. And if anybody in that area has any sort of connections, I'd be willing to front some bones for shipping to get some of those cookies in my mouth. Because for the love of God. Anyway, yeah.
You can count on Eric to always give some kind of public shill to some food company on this show. Seriously, somebody needs to sponsor us because Eric will shill you till the end.
Look, if I like you, and if you're a food item that tastes delicious, you damn straight I will. I am not a paid endorser, but damn it, I can be.
Exactly. Put him on to be your paid endorser today. Just call, I don't know the number. So, anyway.
Well, start with Twitter, start with Instagram, find me that
at
way.
Squid
Then
Sports
if we
Head,
get
there
serious,
you go.
I'll give you my phone number.
At Superviewer, let's do it. So, anyway, you can also just hit the contact button on W2Mnet.com and it goes there as well to me, and we can start talking about that. But anyway, so how long do you think before we get the final word that Beckham's team has been made number 24?
Knowing how Dom likes to operate,
All-Star game?
Possibly. If not All-Star game, if they want to keep it close to the vest, then it would be a really cool announcement around the MLS Cup. So,
I think the MLS Cup is when they're going to announce the others.
maybe.
So I think this is before.
Well, again, I say it's just one of those two. But if not,
I don't know when they do the Hall of Fame, especially with Beckham being one of the people you can vote on.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine they probably want it done before then because they'll want to talk to him about that.
They would, so that way they could, as things are ramping up towards the upcoming season, They would say, oh, hey, by the way, U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And not to mention, with the existing club in the NASL, Miami FC, who plays at FIU, which is right near Night Owl Cookie Company, in a delicious coincidence.
Oh my God.
Seriously, have you looked at their Instagram? But
no, I haven't, but you keep showing this cookie company. Oh man.
But anyways, the infrastructure would not only be there for the MLS club, but, as you made a very valid point, instead of having to set up a second team in the USL, they could already have Miami FC get a deal going between them and the
I think they have to have a team in the USL. That has been voted on as the official MLS league, where you have to have your second team has to come from USL.
Well, then Miami FC would just move leagues. Done.
You think that would really happen?
Potentially.
Let's see. They already got a lot of teams in the USL. But
well, we've talked about this before.
I don't know. I could see Beckham wanting his own, whatever the Miami team is going to be called, too.
Yeah, but then so then basically that would be the end of Miami FC.
Not necessarily. If they play in the NASL, it's not.
Yes, but then you would have fans dealing with the NASL and then the USL, and it's two compete. No, I could see that failing.
We'll see. It's
Unless
a number
you
2.
Move Miami FC back and you reincarnate the Fort Lauderdale Strikers.
It could be a possibility too, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so good news for Miami. Finally, glad to have that done. I'll be glad when they start getting things going for the team. I will gladly go to Overtown and watch some of the games, and
maybe
they'll be my second
could be
team.
A shirt sponsor.
Maybe you never know. I mean, considering who owns the team and everything, I'd imagine that they would probably want a much more corporate sponsor. But
maybe Night Owl could be the sponsor for the USL team.
You know, Night Owl could be. They could be the official cookie of the stadium or something.
See, you see, now you're thinking.
There you go. See, if you want cookies, they are provided to you by Night Owl Cookie Company. So,
and boy, hell, do you want Night Owl cookies? I mean, especially.
Oh my God!
I mean, seriously, a gigantic.
Hold on, are you sure that you're not being paid for this? Because you are really going on
look,
this.
Just look at their Instagram.
Okay, I will do it when we get off this podcast. But you are just giving them so much free advertising here.
And
I hope there's somebody to listen.
Me up with something for
if
my
somebody
birthday.
else that lives in Miami is listening to this, please go to that cookie company and tell them that Soccer to the Max sent you. And who knows? Maybe there will be something going on. But maybe we can. You know, you should reach out to that company and ask them for a sponsorship deal. Eric, you should do it. So, anyway.
Yeah, you and I need to collaborate on that. That's a good idea.
Maybe we should. As much as you just gave them about 10 minutes of free advertisement here. So, anyway, we go from one positive to a possible positive. Right now it's sort of a negative. San Diego, Soccer City. They got a some negative press here as the city council decided to vote 8-1 against putting the money in the city budget, which would allow for a public referendum on the proposed soccer stadium plan, which would be a 30,000-seat soccer stadium that would replace Qualcomm Stadium. So we're talking about an SSS here.
Yeah, I'm giving a yellow card to Footy McFooty Face. This is a bad foul here.
So they're being saved by the city mayor, who does want this to happen, so he is line item vetoing the vote. And so now they have to go to June 19th, which is only 10 days away, to have the official adding Soccer City project to the November 2017 ballot. If it's voted for, then the 112,000 San Diegans that signed the petition who want to vote for this, y'all all better come out there and get this approved so you can be one step closer to getting San Diego an MLS team. Of course, MLS is monitoring this very closely. Let's see if it happens. So do you think that, first of all, do they get the funding to make it on the November 2017 ballot, or do you think it doesn't even pass when they get to June 19th?
I'm not sure if it passes, and this is why I say it's a yellow card. Qualcomm not only hosted the San Diego Chargers, which are in LA, but they hosted 2 major bowl games and the San Diego State Aztecs in college football. Now, in January, the bowl game committee saw this coming and decided we're going to scrap the Poinsettia Bowl. They're only going to focus on the Holiday Bowl. But I mention all of those.
It's not like they couldn't move the Holiday Bowl somewhere else.
But this is my point. Where are you going to move the Holiday Bowl? Where are you going to move the Aztecs? Because in the original planning, as this came up and as the campaign was getting traction, yes, Qualcomm was going to be gone, which I didn't mind. Yes, it was going to be a 40,000-seat stadium, which I did not mind. But it was going to serve dual purpose for hosting the Aztecs and the MLS team. And I thought with something like that, you're keeping the sports complex intact near Petco Park. That would be fantastic. Now I'm hearing this news of the SSS, and I'm thinking, okay, but where are these other teams and things going to go?
Holiday Bowl doesn't have to be in San Diego anymore. It's not a big deal.
Oh, yes, it is. If they were going to...
Honestly, it would not have made it this far if somebody really had a problem with Qualcomm getting replaced. Or...
And I get Qualcomm getting replaced. That's not the problem. It's that what's going to be the second venue if it's going to be replaced by an SSS?
Well, obviously the mayor doesn't give a crap about whether or not San Diego State has a stadium.
Well, hey, Mayor, can we sit down and have a chat? And
I personally just don't care. Like, they can figure it out. Like, there's other teams, there's other stadiums. They can make their own stadium. A college should have their own stadium at this point. Anyway, you're a freaking college.
Okay, but my point is where? Because I'm saying this is out of the blue. And again, the Holiday Bowl, you can poo-poo on it all you want, but for San Diego, the Holiday Bowl matters. That is like one of the preeminent, outside of the New Year's Six, top bowl games.
It is. But I'm just saying, couldn't you? There's nothing else in the area that you can have it in.
Not that I know of, and this is the problem. And look at how long it took for the Padres to even get Petco Park. They tried hosting other events there, like when Rugby Sevens came to town. For the first couple of years, it was at Petco Park. It turned out to be
why couldn't you have the Holiday Bowl at Petco Park?
Because it's not designed for college football. They never had that in mind. It was strictly for baseball.
I know.
I mean, hell, look at when they had Illinois and Northwestern at Wrigley. Did you see what a kerfuffle that was? I mean, when you have uprights, just a set of uprights, no bar underneath of it, on a brick wall, you're on full-blown covfefe territory right there. Both of the teams having to move one direction across the field. It was like the sneaker game in the 1932 NFL Championship. It was that bad. You could run into the same thing at Petco.
You could. I just, I don't know. I want the SSS because I like seeing SSSs go up there. It helps the soccer team. It helps you feel like you're at home. You're not sharing it with somebody else. I hate seeing the football lines. It looks terrible for a soccer pitch, honestly. So, for me, I'm in favor of this. I know you're thinking of other things, and I think the city would appreciate that. But honestly, I feel like everybody knows about this, and it would not have gotten to this point if there was a lot of people that were having problems with making sure San Diego State had a stadium or where the Holiday Bowl was going to be. I'd imagine that plans were already made for some of this.
And again, if I knew those plans in hearing this announcement, I'd shut up right now. But I don't.
And that's fair. Just, you gave yours, I gave mine. Let's see what happens. If that even makes that June 19th vote. Because this could be killed dead just like the St. Louis thing, and San Diego's not even a question at this point. So we'll see. You still got to go through. We will know we won't be able to talk about it until that midweek of that week, but we'll be able to talk about it either June 21st or 22nd and see what happens. But all right, so the final thing we got to talk about is the 3 MLS games here. One of them is on Unimas. The other 2 are MLS Live. So unless you
do you have the sheet of paper that you're going to use for this accessible this time? And do you know where you're going to put it? Or are you going to actually put it in the computer?
I feel like we can remember 3 games.
Okay.
So, Chicago at home against Atlanta. Atlanta
this could be
beat Chicago last time they played each other in a rather hefty margin. I feel like Chicago's playing much differently, but I see a draw. I see a 2-2 draw.
So do I, but again, me being me, maybe a little higher scoring.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Schweinsteiger.
Ha!
I could see him getting a goal here too.
See him getting a goal and then breaking out with some delicious Chicago deep dish pizza.
That'd be great if he breaks out with it right on the field too.
Exactly. So I could be there to hand him a slice right there, right at the corner flag as he scores.
So Sporting KC taking on Montreal. It's in Sporting. I'm going to go with Sporting here at home. They usually play much better there.
They do. In Montreal, I don't think Piatti...
Remember, Sporting is going to be without some of, Graham Zuzi, I think. That's the only guy they're missing.
Yeah.
So, I still think Sporting 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0. They shut down Piatti. He won't be able to do much connecting. Yeah.
And then Portland taking on FC Dallas at 10:30 in the nightcap on MLS Live. This one really interesting here.
Dallas could take it.
Yeah, no Nagby.
No.
Dallas no Cohen Acosta either. Mauro Diaz really having his first big start with the team. I'll go another draw here. I'll go 1-1.
I think Dallas takes this 1-0.
Oh, well. I'd love to see that, honestly. So, not going to complain there.
Yeah, because especially without Nagby, I don't know if they can create the magic in the midfield to get it to Adi. Mm-mm.
All right, so the three bigger predictions here. Who wins, Venezuela or England?
Venezuela, but you're probably going to have to suffer through 120 minutes.
Oh, God, don't tell me that again.
Hey, I picked Uruguay and France to be in the final of this one, so you can take what I say with a grain of salt.
I say 2-1 Venezuela in regular time, please. U.S. women against Norway.
We looked sloppy against Sweden, but still got the win.
Norway, much different team, obviously.
Yeah.
I'll say 2-0.
I was going to say 2-0 myself because I don't want to say 3, but yes, 2-0.
Dos a 0 for the women, and then the U.S. men in Mexico.
1-1.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. 1-1. I wanted to think of the U.S. getting their revenge and getting a win, but
oh hell no!
It's Azteca, man. Look
at everything that Jurgen Klinsmann had to do to finally.
That's Jurgen Klinsmann, though. It's Jurgen Klinsmann.
And no, this is my exact point. Look at everything Klinsmann had to do to finally break through at Azteca. You think Arena's gonna pull that off?
Hey, wait, hold on. Are we trying to say that Klinsmann's a better coach than Arena?
In certain situations.
Because he's not. What, just because he calls the Europeans up? No, I don't think he is at all.
I'm not saying that exclusively. I'm going by history. I'm taking all of this into account. Klinsmann, yes, he had to work miracles to try to finally get that win and break that stone wall.
Klinsmann got to work with a much better squad than Arena did in his first years as U.S. coach.
Okay.
Yes, is Arena calling in a lot of the same guys that Klinsmann was? Well, no, because they're the best players the U.S. has. But they showed today that they listened to Arena when he tells them something.
I'm not saying that they're not listening to him. I'm just saying, with all of that convalescence of factors, no, he's not getting this done. Not now, not this time.
Well, you got to play the game.
You want to make a bet? I would love to win some Night Owl cookies off of you.
I don't make bets, plus I don't know that I can make it to Night Owl, whatever, because my car can't go that far.
Well, but, I was going to say, like I made a bet on another podcast of a steak dinner, but I'm taking into account your budget.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But, so, yes, all right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe the men pull off a miracle. How tremendous would that be? Maybe you're right, but you got to play the game. I just hope to God we don't get blown out. That's the only thing I don't want to see. But well, they got to play it on Sunday at 7:30 or 8 o'clock probably. 7:30 is the pregame, I'm sure. And until then, guys, we'll be trying to come on right after that game is over, since there's no MLS games on Sunday. And until then, everybody, we will enjoy your soccer, enjoy the weekend.
Enjoy your cookies.
And enjoy your cookies from Night Owl Cookie Company, or wherever else you eat your cookies. Make sure, if you like what you heard here, hit that subscribe button wherever it is you listen to us. Whether it's, Google Play or iTunes or TuneIn Radio or Stitcher or YouTube or W2Mnet.com, wherever it is, hit that subscribe button. Rate and review if you'd like. That would really help us. Raise the ranks on iTunes, because, it does crazy things when you hit those reviews. And tell other people about us. If you like what you hear, tell other people that like soccer and want to just hear two guys and of course Rachel when she is on talk about this beautiful game from the American side. So
phrasing kinda.
Oh, what? Come on now.
No, I'm serious. I mean, two guys and of course Rachel. I mean, come on. They could have been framed a teeny bit better.
Well, I don't want to say three guys because Rachel's not a guy.
I know that, but
I don't know. Okay, the crew here. Sadly Rachel doesn't get to be on all the time, but when she does, she makes this a better show. So
see, there you go.
Anyway, now that you've totally got me out of my groove here, thank you for listening. We'll be back on Sunday night, Monday morning on The Demand. Until then, see you later, everybody.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.